I still remember the exact sound of that coin hitting my guitar case. It was cold, wet, and humiliating. One coin. That's all I made after playing my heart out for 2 hours on a rainy Tuesday in downtown Nashville. And just as I was packing up to leave, a little boy tugged on his mom's sleeve and said, "Mom, he sings like the people on your radio." That moment stuck with me. Maybe because no one else seemed to notice. Or maybe because it felt like my last shot. Hey, before I go any further, if you're loving this story already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more real-life stories just like this that might just hit you in the heart. So, yeah, my name's Tyler James. I was 26, dead broke. My last 20 bucks went to gas and guitar strings. I didn't have a backup plan. Just an old guitar, some half-written songs, and a voice I wasn't sure anyone cared to hear. But what I didn't know that day was that someone had been listening, and everything was about to change. Nashville isn't all rhinestones and record deals. For every breakout star, there are 100 of us just trying to pay rent. I played outside cafes, corner spots on Broadway, under flickering street lamps, anywhere that might have a bit of foot traffic and half-decent acoustics. One night, I was playing my song, "Wreckage of Me," under the 6th Avenue Bridge. I didn't even notice the black SUV that had stopped across the street until it pulled away. A week later, I got a DM on Instagram from someone named Avery. Said she worked for a small indie label and had seen one of my performances go viral. Viral? I didn't even have a YouTube channel. Turns out, that little boy's mom had filmed me playing and posted it. Her caption, "Why does this man not have a record deal yet?" I clicked the link. 1.2 million views. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was fake. I even messaged her to say thanks, and she replied, "My son listens to your song every night before bed." But that's when the real challenges started. I signed with Avery's label. We had one shot to record a single. I was nervous, too polished in the studio, lost the rawness. First take flopped. Then the engineer said something I'll never forget. "Sing like you're still under that bridge." So I did. We re-recorded "Wreckage of Me" in one take, raw, shaky, real. And this time, the world listened. Radio play, morning shows, late nights in cramped vans on tour. 1,000 people, then 5, then 20. But success doesn't come in straight lines. There was a point, right before the biggest performance of my life. My voice cracked during rehearsal. I panicked. Doctor told me I might have strained it. No show, no future. I sat in the green room and cried. Everything I worked for, it was slipping through my fingers. That's when Avery came in and said, "This crowd didn't come for perfection. They came for you." So I walked on stage. 40,000 people. My legs shook. I held the mic like a lifeline. I started to sing, and when I got to the second chorus, I heard something. They were singing it with me, word for word. Tears ran down my face as I dropped to my knees. The crowd roared. That song, my song, had become theirs too. After the show, a producer from RCA approached me backstage. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't just fill the stadium that night. I found my voice. But here's the craziest part. After the show, I got a message on Instagram. It was from that little boy's mom. We were in the front row. He still remembers that rainy Tuesday. It took me a while to process that message. I stared at it backstage, still drenched in sweat, the roar of the crowd echoing in my ears like a dream refusing to end. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from something deeper. A full-circle moment I never thought I'd live to see. I walked out of the dressing room and sat alone in the empty seats of the now silent stadium. 40,000 people had filled those chairs just an hour ago. Now it was just me and a feeling I couldn't shake. The boy, the mom, that rainy Tuesday, that coin. I pulled out my phone and sent her a message. I owe your son a backstage pass for life. What's his name? She replied instantly, Caleb. He's 9 now. He brought a cardboard sign that said, I believe in Tyler. And just like that, I was crying again. In the middle of a silent stadium, under a sky full of stars I never thought I'd reach. A week later, I had my team track them down. We sent VIP passes, custom merch, and front row seats to my next show in Denver. But I wanted more than that. I wanted Caleb to hear something just for him, so I wrote a new song. It was called One Listener. The chorus? You don't need 1,000 hands to clap, just one kid who claps the loudest back. One heart that hears your quiet sound. That's all it takes to turn things round. When I performed it in Denver, I stopped the music halfway and said, this one's for Caleb, the first kid who believed in me. The spotlight found him. The whole stadium cheered, and I swear I've never seen a kid smile that hard in my life. He ran up to me backstage that night, holding a brand new guitar we had gifted him. Will you teach me how to play Wreckage of Me? He asked. I'll do you one better, I told him. Let's write something new, together. That was the beginning of something I never expected. The Echo Project, a nonprofit that gives instruments, mentorship, and songwriting classes to kids in underfunded schools across America. We started in Nashville, then Atlanta, then LA. We've helped over 4,000 kids find their voice. And Caleb? He played with me live at Madison Square Garden last summer. When we strummed the final chord together, I looked out at that sea of lights and I didn't see fans. I saw me, years ago. I saw him, watching. I saw all of us, people with nothing but a song in their soul and a dream too big for their circumstances. Some nights, I still walk by that bridge. Not because I miss the cold or the ache in my back after standing for hours, but because it reminds me who I was when no one was watching, who I had to be when applause wasn't guaranteed. That bridge wasn't just a street corner, it was my classroom, my battlefield, my first stage. One night, maybe 6 months after the Madison Square Garden show, I went back with my guitar. No cameras, no crew, just me and the echoes of 100 versions of myself. I played Wreckage of Me softly, almost whispering it into the night air. A couple walked by and tossed in $1. A teenager filming a TikTok paused to listen. A man on a bicycle gave me a thumbs up, and I smiled, because it wasn't about the crowd anymore. It was about the soul of the song, about staying rooted. The next day, I got a text from Avery. Big offer came in. National brand wants you for a Super Bowl ad. Full rights to your story. I froze. The Super Bowl. That was every artist's dream. But the rights to your story part, that sat heavy on my chest. What did that mean? Could they twist it? Market it into something shiny and shallow? Package my worst days as a montage to sell energy drinks? I called her. What if they water it down? I asked. Make it about luck or going viral, when it was really about grit and staying in the fight. She paused, then said something only a true friend and believer would say. Then walk away, you've already won. So I did. I walked away from the biggest check I'd ever been offered. Instead, I poured that same story into something else, a documentary. We called it The Sound Beneath the Noise. It followed musicians who were just like me, playing outside subway stations, small-town bars, and school gymnasiums, dreaming big in a world that rarely listens. We premiered it at South by Southwest, and guess who introduced it? Caleb. At just 10 years old, standing in front of industry execs and artists and dreamers, he said, I once heard someone sing in the rain. It changed everything. Don't walk past the music. There wasn't a dry eye in that room. From there, things took off in ways I couldn't have imagined. We partnered with Spotify to launch an Emerging Street Voices program, giving unknown street performers the ability to record their first EPs for free. The Echo Project expanded into 11 cities, and I made a promise. Every album I release, 10% goes to those kids. Always. Because I know what it means to sleep in your car for a dream, to eat once a day just to afford strings, to beg the sky for just one person to hear you and believe. Last month, I got another message. It was from a kid in Detroit, 17. He sent a voice memo of himself singing "Wreckage of Me," off-key, raw, beautiful. He ended it with, "I hope this is okay. Your song saved my life." That line echoed in my head for days. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about who I was at 17, working the night shift at a diner, sneaking into open mic nights, wondering if any of it mattered. And now, here was this kid, pouring his heart out through a cheap phone speaker, hoping someone would care. I called Avery. "I need to go on tour," I said. She laughed. "You're always on tour." "No, not stadiums, not headlines. I want to play high schools, community centers, youth shelters. I want to go where music really saves people." And that's how the backroom sessions began. No tickets, no merch lines. Just me, my guitar, and a chair in the middle of a gym floor, or a classroom, or sometimes even a hallway, with kids leaning against lockers. We started with 6 cities. By the end of the first month, it was 22. At one stop in Tulsa, a girl named Maya raised her hand after my set. She was quiet, could barely make eye contact, but when she stood up to speak, the room went still. "My mom left. My dad's in jail," she said. "I've been trying to figure out why I'm still here, and I think it's because I haven't written my own wreckage yet." I walked over and handed her my guitar. "Start tonight." Something was happening, bigger than any chart or stream count. The backroom sessions weren't just about performing, they were about handing over the mic, giving these kids a voice, a stage, a reason to stay in the fight. By the time we hit New Orleans, I had an entire crew of volunteers, musicians, teachers, counselors, all riding in a beat-up bus we called the Reverb. Someone spray-painted "Every Voice Matters" across the side in gold. One night, as we were packing up, I got another message. It was from RCA, the same guy who approached me after Madison Square Garden. "Saw what you're doing. We want to fund it. Full support. No strings." I stared at that email for a long time. Years ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. But now, I replied, "We're not looking for funding. We're looking for commitment. If you want to help, send your top engineers to the next backroom stop. We're building a mobile studio. We want to record them." They agreed. 3 months later, we dropped the first Backroom Sessions Volner 1 album, featuring 10 original tracks, written and sung by the very kids we met on the road. It hit number 3 on iTunes in less than 48 hours. People weren't just listening, they were hearing. The night the album charted, I was alone in my hotel room. No cameras, no press, just me, staring out at the skyline, holding a notebook filled with messy lyrics and water stains from years ago. That old voice crept in. "You're not supposed to be here." But this time, I smiled. Exactly. That's why I am. The next morning, I got a call from a familiar voice. It was the sound engineer from that first rough studio session, the guy who'd told me to sing like you're still under that bridge. "Ty," he said, "this backroom thing, it's lightning in a bottle. Don't let anyone box it up." He was right. The minute something this real becomes a brand or a business, it risks losing its heart. But at the same time, we were growing. Fast. Too fast. Kids from other countries were reaching out. Brazil, South Africa, the Philippines. Some of their messages broke me. We sing into tin cans because we don't have mics. Our school banned music class to save money. I play on borrowed strings and broken keys, but it's all I have. We had to do more, so I made the biggest decision of my life. I paused my stadium tour. I called my team and said, "Shut it down. No opening acts, no arenas. We're going global." They thought I was crazy. "Tyler, you just hit number 3 worldwide. You're walking away now." I wasn't walking away. I was walking towards something bigger. We partnered with local communities and NGOs to launch Backroom Global, starting with 3 pilot cities, Manila, Lagos, and Rio. Portable sound booths, songwriting workshops, safe spaces for kids to sing what they couldn't say. And everywhere we went, it was the same. Raw voices, untuned guitars, lyrics that cut deeper than anything I'd heard on the radio. In Lagos, I met a boy named Elijah who had written a song about his father's disappearance. He was 12. He sang it with closed eyes and trembling lips. And when he finished, there was total silence. Then I clapped, slowly. Then the whole room joined in. Afterward, he walked up to me and said, "I thought if I told the truth, people would turn away." I crouched beside him and said, "Kid, it's only the truth that brings them closer." The media started paying attention, not just to me, but to them, to all of them. For the first time, it wasn't my face on the screen. It was Maya's, and Elijah's, and Caleb's. The backroom sessions had become more than music. It was a movement, and yet, somewhere deep down, I still felt a need to return to the beginning, to the bridge. It had been years. I returned quietly, no guitar, no fanfare, and I saw him. Another musician, maybe 19 or 20, playing through cracked amp cables, pouring his soul into a city that barely looked up. I dropped a $100 bill in his case and said the same words I'd once needed. "Don't stop. Even if no one claps, someone hears you." He looked up, stunned. "Wait, are you?" I just smiled and walked away. Because the story wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who ever risked singing through silence. That night, I walked the city aimlessly. No cameras, no team, just me and a hoodie, blending into the noise. But something tugged at me, something I hadn't felt in years. Loneliness. Not the kind that comes from being physically alone, but the kind that sneaks in when you've poured everything into others, when your voice becomes everyone's voice, and you forget what yours even sounded like to begin with. I pulled out my notebook and sat at a park bench near the river. I didn't write for a record, or a fan base, or a cause. I wrote for me. Just a melody and some words. Honest, unpolished. Something about being tired, about feeling full and empty at the same time, about searching for silence when the whole world wants a sound. And for the first time in a long time, I cried. The next morning, Avery called. "You okay?" she asked. I didn't lie. Not really. "Then take a break," she said. "Rest. We've got a team now. We can keep this thing running without you." That's when I realized we'd built something self-sustaining, bigger than me, stronger than a single name. The backroom sessions didn't need me in every room anymore. They just needed belief. So I did something wild. I disappeared. For 3 months, I unplugged. No social, no interviews, no tour. I stayed in a cabin in Colorado with nothing but my guitar, old notebooks, and my dog, Fender. I fished. I cooked badly. I journaled. I rediscovered the joy of just playing without anyone listening. And somewhere between sunrise hikes and out-of-tune strumming, I found a song that felt like me again. It was called Quiet Winds, not a chart topper, not a stadium anthem, but it was the truest thing I'd ever written. The chorus went, "I don't need the roar to feel alive. Just one deep breath and an open sky. No spotlight, no gold, no sins. Just a heart still beating for quiet wins." When I came back, we recorded it live, in a single take, in one of our backroom studios, with 3 students playing alongside me. No filter, no fix. It dropped quietly on a Friday, and that Sunday, it hit #1 on the acoustic soul charts. But more than the numbers, the comments told me everything. I played this on my mom's porch after she got diagnosed. This reminded me to slow down. This saved my life. Sometimes we think impact comes from noise, but I've learned some of the most powerful changes happen in whispers, in unrecorded rehearsals, in overlooked bridges, in songs played for an audience of 1. So if you're still chasing your first big break, remember, you might be someone else's big break without even knowing it. A glance, a song, a sentence. It's all it takes to shift a life. 3 weeks after Quiet Wins dropped, I got an email with a subject line that stopped me cold. From the boy under the bridge. I clicked it. It was from Caleb, now almost 12. He said he was writing me not as a fan, but as a musician. I've been performing at our school assemblies. I play One Listener, but I also wrote a song of my own. It's called Meant to Hear It. I think you'd like it. He included a link. I clicked play. And there he was, tiny hands on a second-hand keyboard, his voice shaky, but growing stronger with every line. He didn't hit every note, but he hit me right in the heart. The chorus, "You didn't know I was listening, didn't see me in the crowd, but your quiet turned into thunder, and I sing it out loud." I sat in my studio, stunned. My phone buzzed. Calls, texts, the usual chaos, but I ignored it all. All I could think was, he found his voice. Later that week, I invited Caleb and his mom to the studio in LA. When they walked in, I swear, he looked taller, older. His mom smiled, but it was different this time. There was pride behind her eyes, not just for me, but for him. We recorded Meant to Hear It together. I added a few harmony layers, but I let him lead. His voice cracked once. He apologized. I said, "Never say sorry for sounding real." We released the track under Backroom Kids Records, a new label we had just launched, run by youth artists, for youth artists. It debuted at #4 on the Family and Inspiration chart. And that night, in the green room after the release event, Caleb turned to me and said, "I want to do what you did, help other kids find their sound." That was the moment, the handoff. From dreamer to believer to builder. I wasn't just mentoring anymore. I was witnessing the next wave. Months passed, and then something surreal happened. I was nominated for a humanitarian Grammy, not for a song, but for the impact of the Backroom Project. The same stage that had once felt a million miles away now had my name etched into its program. But when the moment came, and the spotlight found me, I stepped aside. I handed the mic to Maya, to Elijah, to Caleb. They accepted it together. They said, "This isn't about a song, it's about being heard." The audience stood. No roaring applause, just a quiet rise, a reverent silence, then a wave of clapping, slow, steady, thunderous. That night, I got one more message, this time from the mother of the street performer I had tipped under the bridge. "He told me what you said. He hasn't stopped playing since. And last week, he got offered a gig at a downtown club." I smiled. The echo keeps going. So here I am now, back where it began. Older, calmer, still playing. Not for fame, not even for stages, but for the ripple. The one voice that can shake a city. The one song that saves a life. The one listener who was meant to hear it. I sat under that same bridge last Friday night. Same cracked pavement. Same echo of passing cars. But everything was different. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't hoping someone would stop and listen. I knew someone would. Not because of fame, but because I had finally learned how to be present. As I played Quiet Winds softly, an older man approached with a cane, stopped a few feet away, and just listened. When I finished, he took off his cap and said, "I lost my wife this year. That song brought her back to me, just for a minute." He didn't need a selfie. He didn't even know my name. He just said, "Thank you," and limped back into the night. And I sat there for a long time, watching his silhouette fade into the streetlights, wondering how many people I'd passed before, people who needed the music as much as I did. That's when it hit me. This journey was never about the destination. It was always about the moments. The first coin that dropped, the boy who believed, the bridge that echoed back, the song that refused to die, the people, so many of them, who didn't even know they were the reason I kept going. Earlier this year, we opened the Backroom Conservatory, a permanent space in Nashville for kids, teens, and unsigned artists to come write, record, collaborate, and heal. It has no admission fee, no dress code, no judgment, just rooms full of instruments and walls that don't just hear, they hold your sound. Some of the alumni from our first backroom sessions came back as instructors. Maya runs the poetry lab. Elijah helps kids build beats. Caleb teaches songwriting workshops on Saturdays. And every wall of that building has one phrase etched into it, right above the soundproof foam. Someone is listening. Play anyway. We're also piloting a new bridge bus, a mobile stage and studio that can park under any overpass or corner and turn it into a show. No stadium needed, because talent doesn't wait for permission. It just needs a chance. The first time we rolled it out, we stopped beneath an old freeway bypass just outside St. Louis. It was a cloudy afternoon, the kind of day when most people would just drive past and roll up their windows. But we set up anyway. Speakers, lights, fold-out chairs, a makeshift stage, no promotion, no headliner, just music. Within an hour, people started showing up. A bus driver on break, a mother walking home with groceries, a group of kids from the neighborhood, wide-eyed and whispering, "Is this for real?" That day, 5 young performers took the mic for the first time in their lives. One girl, no older than 10, sang a song she had written for her brother in prison. Another boy rapped about food insecurity in his neighborhood, with lyrics that made grown men cry. And when I asked them how it felt afterward, one of them said, "It felt like my voice finally had a body. I'll never forget that." Later that evening, I sat on the edge of the bus stage with my legs dangling off the side, watching the sun set behind a skyline of stories waiting to be told. A volunteer handed me a small stack of handwritten notes. They were from kids who hadn't performed but wanted to say something. One said, "I didn't sing today, but I wrote down every word. I'm going to sing it tomorrow." Another, "I was going to run away this week, but now I think I'll stay. I didn't know there were people like you." And one, barely legible, in pencil, "Thank you for putting a stage where people usually put trash." That one got me, because that's what this whole journey has been about. Not putting people on pedestals, but giving people a platform. A few days later, something unexpected happened. A woman in a business suit approached me as we were packing up in Detroit. She didn't look like our usual crowd, heels, blazer, Bluetooth headset. She introduced herself as the VP of Outreach for a major national arts foundation. She said, "We've been watching what you're doing, quietly, carefully, and we think this isn't just music. It's infrastructure, it's healing, it's public service." She pulled out an envelope and handed it to me. Inside was a check, 7 figures, enough to fully fund the Bridge Bus Initiative in all 50 states for the next 3 years. I was stunned. speechless. And then she added, "No restrictions, just keep doing it the way you've been doing it. Don't make it shiny, don't make it corporate, just keep it human." That night, back in my hotel, I didn't celebrate. I didn't pop champagne. I sat down with my guitar and started writing. Not a song this time, a letter. To every kid who had ever been silenced, to every musician who'd ever been told they weren't enough, to every dreamer who'd ever played to an empty room. I called it Echo Manifesto, and I ended it with these lines. We are not waiting for permission. We are not asking to be heard. We are speaking, singing, shouting, until the walls fall down, until the quiet ones are loud, until every bridge becomes a stage. So if you're reading this and you feel forgotten, if you're in your garage, your bedroom, your basement, if you've got something burning inside you but no place to put it, here's your place. The bridge is waiting. The mic is open. The world needs your sound. Tell me below, what's the first lyric of your life's song? Drop it in the comments. Let's build an album together, one voice, one note at a time. And if you believe in this movement, if you've ever played to a room that didn't clap, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, this isn't the end, it's just the next verse.